Hello and welcome again to Back Chat, the programme with views less defensible than a Rangi Chase cannonball tattle. As ever, an esteemed panel for you today. We've got Garry Schofield, the former Huddersfield Giants coach, and won one or two caps playing for Great Britain and England as well. Alongside him, Chris Irvine from the Times and the Sunday Times newspaper. Two newspapers, good but not good enough, because here's a man with three. Gareth Walker, the Daily Mirror, the Sunday Mirror and the Sunday People. Chaps, great to see you all again, fantastic. Another lot of talking points in Rugby League this week. I think we're going to start with the Cup, if we don't mind. Good matches. Lee, the headline act, with a victory against Salford. Garry Schofield.
No two ways about it. They certainly put a marker down, haven't they? You know, Lee have been making all the noises about being a Super League club, certainly off the field, but I think that performance certainly on Saturday proved that certainly in the bottom six, bottom seven of Super League, that they would be able to compete and win most games, certainly at the Leeds Sports Village. But also as well, I think if you look at the way that Leeds play, I like the way they play the game. You know, the expansion, what they play, asking plenty of questions, the defence, and also too playing for the coach. And I know that Wigan talk about a culture, what they've got there, but I think the culture at there is excellent. And Paul Rowley's got everybody coming into training with a smile on the face, playing with a smile on the face, and his man management's excellent. So quality Lee side, and they'll be looking forward to a good cup run. There's no two ways about it.
And Gareth, you've seen a bit of them in the recent years. No surprises what they're doing this year.
No, they've built over a number of years and they've steadily come to where they're at now, I think, and they're a full-time club. And as Garry said there, they look made for Super League now, don't they? The style of the play is one thing that I think will have caught people's attention at weekend. They went wide on the very first tackle of the game. They showed they were going to attack from all over the field. They've got good half-backs, quick backs, but then you've got like forwards like Sam Barlow and Gareth Hock who are looking to offload every tackle, so there's threats all over the field. And I think as and when they do get into Super League, there'll be a real boost for the competition because they'll bring something a little bit different and definitely exciting.
Because I think one or two people thought they might get the comeuppance against Salford, that all right, 19-20 wins on the trot, but this is a proper Super League team who are in a bit of form that they're up against, so to win like they won really does put a marker down.
Yeah, they did, and that's to be fair too, that Salford did suffer quite a few injuries in that game. They lost Michael Dobson after about 14 minutes and then they lost Junior Sow as well, so they were right for the taking in that respect, but that's not beat about the bush. That was a fine victory by Lee and put down a marker for Super League in their terms as well, and it's a rare example of a Championship side beating a Super League side as well. That is a rare achievement, and they get the chance to go up against Wakefield in the next round as well.
I think as well after the game, Paul Rowley put the mention out that he didn't really think they played well. You know, so if there's improvement in Lee, you know, on that performance, because overall they did play well, and as Gareth mentioned, the style of play is excellent, and we all want to see attractive open rugby league, and that's what Lee played. But if Paul Rowley reckons there's plenty more to come from Lee, then they are going to be very, very competitive. There's no two ways about it.
Just honourable mentions before we move on to the draw itself, but honourable mentions for Halifax, for Sheffield, and especially for Bradford, who pushed Hawkeyer a lot closer than the scoreline suggested.
Yeah, with all three of those games, I think I looked and with 60 minutes gone, I think they were all within 10 points. You know, Sheffield were within 10 points of Hull with 10 minutes left as well. So I think Lee can act as a bit of inspiration to those clubs as well, both on and off the field, where Lee have come from and what clubs like that can achieve and come to now. There's no reason why Halifax or your Featherstone, Sheffields, and obviously Bradford have been there already, but there's potential in other clubs outside Super League to do what Lee have done, I think, and all three of the other clubs competed well against the Super Leagues and kind of bring on that middle eight, because it's going to be fascinating, isn't it?
Halifax were competitive for an hour, weren't they, against Wakefield before there was a bit of a blowout
to
towards
work
the end.
all day as well.
Yeah, and so Bradford led twice against Huntington Rovers as well, and played some really attractive rugby, you know, and there was a case in that game, we were there at that game, where there really should have been a sending off of one of the Hull KR players, Adam Walker.
Yeah. It was a hell of a punch, wasn't it?
A hell of a punch on the nose of Adam O'Brien, and how he got a yellow card for that is beyond me.
Well, apparently the referee didn't see the point of contact, otherwise if it had...
Well, Adam O'Brien saw the punch of contact, and I think 6,000 people did as well, so he's probably the one to miss it.
Well, to be honest with you, isn't that what referees are always saying nowadays? I don't see the point of contact, I don't see this, I don't see that. Well, at the end of the day, I think they want to start opening their eyes, don't they, and start noticing these things, because you look at that first incident in 10 seconds in the Salford game, and Lee, you know, with 30
Patterson, seconds on Patterson.
With Patterson there, there's that tip tackle. I was at the game on Sunday Widnes Cast, there was 2 tip tackles there. You know, referees, they want to start officiating how they should be officiating, and that's quite clearly, if these offences are taking place, there's only one thing that's going to happen, and that's realistic. They've got to send them off. It's as simple as that. They've got to send them off, because that will stop it.
Right, okay, well let's move on to the draw then. Wakefield against Leeds, that's obviously the highlight, isn't it? Is it? Or am I wrong? Leeds Huddersfield, is that a bigger draw? Is that the more mouth-watering tie?
I think Wakefield Leeds, and the way it came out of the draw as well, that very bizarre, if anybody saw the draw, a ball came out with no number and the number was floating around the bowl, number 10. So that was quite amusing.
But it wouldn't be a rugby league draw,
it maintained a tradition, didn't it? Whether you don't know the 6 or, I think you were involved in that, Garry, whether the ball had a 6 or a 9 on it, was it Salford that year?
Yeah, it was Salford, last year. They were claiming a redraw that myself and Alex got it wrong.
Yeah.
Alex called number 9, I called 6. I don't know if I called 9 or he called 6, but anyway.
We've had balls rolling across the floor. It's always good fun with the draw. We love the draw.
Well, we'll have the problem this year because obviously Salford have got knocked out. But yeah, Wakefield and Leigh are the draw of the round for mine. Again, it puts Leigh against Super League opposition. Not the best Super League team, as we know. Wakefield finished at the bottom of the moment, but yeah, Leigh again to put a marker down. They're going away from home. They're going away from the comfort zone. So it'll be a good test for Leigh when they play Wakefield.
I think that's going to be on the telly as well. That's a good tie. Good tie.
It's a dress rehearsal it could be the dress rehearsal for the £1 million game in September, couldn't it?
Yeah.
That could be the £1 million game. Less probably at stake in that respect, but again, it's what a wonderful chance for Leigh to put down a marker again and say, look, we are a Super League club.
How important does James Webster make this tie? Because he's already said, hasn't he, more or less, we're giving up on Super League. They've waved the white flag. They're going to get ready for the middle eights. Do they need a cup run? Because the next round of the cup is going to be around the time of that middle eights, isn't it?
I think they do. I think, they're a home win away from being in the last 8, aren't you? And which club wouldn't want to be in the last 8 of the Challenge Cup? So I think they'd be mad not to take this game hugely seriously. And I think it's a massive match. If their Super League form continues, they're going to have absolutely no momentum going into that middle 8, which could count for a lot when these Championship teams have been winning on a weekly basis. So I think a Challenge Cup run could really galvanise their season, which makes this game even more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking around the rest of the draw, got Wigan against Hull KR, home win. Yeah, quick show of hands. Wakefield against Leeds, Leeds against Huddersfield. That's going to be cracking. That is going to be a cracking tie.
Leeds, the last team they lost to in the Challenge Cup were the Giants. I think it was the 5th round in 2013. So they haven't lost a cup tie since then. And that was a great game. A great game. The Giants played very well. Good crowd at the John Smiths that day. And Leeds don't like playing Huddersfield at times. They've not got the great record.
Until this year, they had a great record.
Danny Brough always comes to the fore in those games as well.
But Leeds at this moment in time, playing too well. Challenge Cup holders, they want to go back to Wembley. They want to regain the Challenge Cup. There's only one victory there. That's
but Gareth, the last time we were on the programme, St Helens were playing well. It's been all down since then.
You said St Helens would not lose a game this season.
Looking into my magic ball, yes, I said St Helens could be a team that there, but the wheels have fallen off. The honeymoon period has finished for Kieran, but I will say the Rhinos will beat Huddersfield, and I reckon they'll regain the Challenge Cup. There's no two ways about it.
The wheels have fallen off the honeymoon period. That's
something like that anyway.
If your honeymoon period had wheels,
the honeymoon period's finished for Kieran Cunningham anyway. That's for sure.
Just a quick word on Leeds. I mean, obviously they're losing. We talked about a lot last time. They're losing a lot of senior players. But how impressed have you been with Liam Sutcliffe in recent weeks? He looks to have matured into that role.
Yeah, he is. He is. Well, I don't think he's no longer the heir apparent to Sinfield. He's there and he's doing the business, and he did it against St Helens. And they're the first time that Kevin Sinfield had been named on the bench since 2003, and they go with Sutcliffe, and he's terrific, isn't he? He creates tries. He scored a wonderful try that Kevin Sinfield himself set up. So the future is the now for Leeds as well, and not just him. You saw Ash Handley, score, a fantastic hat trick, and the future in that respect, you've got to say at the moment, does look very bright for Leeds.
Yeah, and they're losing props. I'm obviously going to lose props, but Singleton looks good, doesn't he? I like Singleton coming through the Cumbrian.
Yeah,
and Cuthbertson's been a fantastic.
The quality what Leeds are coming through. But we just mentioned Liam Sutcliffe there, and I think I said about 18 months ago, this kid is going to be the future, not just for Leeds captain, but also to the England captain as well. And people now are saying exactly what I predicted 18 months ago. But yeah, Sutcliffe is ready now to take over, and I've also said as well, which I think should happen, Sinfield was made a young captain at Leeds at 21-22. Yeah. After Kevin retires this year at Leeds Rhinos, Liam Sutcliffe should be made the captain of the Rhinos and follow it from there. I know Danny's still there and what have you, but coaches today say, well, we've got plenty of leaders out there. Make Liam Sutcliffe the Leeds captain. He's the future, and there's no doubt about it. He's going to be the future England captain.
It's not just him, is it? I mean, you look across that. But I mean, Zach Hardy's, because he's only about 23. Callum Watkins is only about 24, and they really are established.
And Briscoe and Ryan Hall as well. You got
Stevie Ward, recently.
Stevie Ward, how good is he playing? You know, and he's certainly going to be for the England side coming the New Zealand series. But you look at that back line and the age of it. We just mentioned Ryan Hall and Briscoe, Ash Hanley coming on, Goulden as well, the full back. Quality in the back line, and as we say, with Singleton coming through. Yeah, the good future. There's no doubt about it.
Let's hope the wheels don't fall off their honeymoon period over the next few weeks, because you've just put the curse on. Hull against Cass, that's another cup tie to look forward to. Hull against... this is a case of which Hull and which Cass turn up, isn't it, in terms of who's going to win that game?
No, I don't think you can. I think Castleford, particularly, they really are Jekyll and Hyde. They were sublime against Hull Kingston Rovers at home a couple of weeks ago, and then they go to Widnes and just look as awful as they had done on a recent trip to Huddersfield. So they're very, very in and out at the moment, and Hull are just not to be relied on at all. So it's frayed nerves in that time, I think.
But I mean, potentially they're both cup finalists, aren't they? I mean, this is a competition that they should both be targeted.
Yeah, and you know, especially, I mean, Cass were there last year, weren't they? We saw what that did for them. So I think Hull will look at that and think, you know, that could revitalise them as well. I think Hull have regrouped a bit after the Easter defeat to Hull KR, when they looked out on the feet really, and they looked as if they'd scored one try and that came off a mistake. They weren't threatening. Since then, they've not been spectacular, but they've regrouped and the defence has improved a bit. Yeah. I think they'll definitely be targeting the couple, and I think they'll be slight favourites going into that.
What have you made of Hull this year? Your former club. They still love you there, by the way.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. But yeah, inconsistent, aren't they? And they've had a few injuries themselves. They're getting Sneed back. Gareth Ellis is coming back. So yeah, inconsistent. But yeah, Adam Pearson has said he wants a good cup run. They'll be looking, you know, to go to the next round. So I would fancy Hull to beat Cass. We just mentioned there. I was at the game on Sunday. They was awful against Widnes. But I think the problem is with Casford players individually and also as a team collectively. They play well one week, believe all the publicity what they're getting, and then fall down. So it's all about consistency. And the performance on Sunday, quite simply, was not good enough for Casford and the coach in Darryl Powell.
Let's just look at the others. Do any of these tickle our taste buds? Dewsbury against Warrington, St Helens against York, Catalan against Featherstone, Widnes against Batley. Can you see any of those Super League teams not winning any of those games?
No, I think it will. I think Super League will prevail. But for York, what a great day out for them to go and play the Super League champions. You know,
they've got to get battered though, aren't they?
Well,
you know
they are, but
due respect,
there they are. They're ploughing away in National League.
They've had a few troubles off the field as well with the ground. They don't know where they're playing this season at home. So I guess being away is probably better for them. So it's probably a good thing that they are. And it is a proper day out. It is a proper day out.
But also as well, the Challenge Cup, that's what it's all about. Dewsbury, Warrington, great crowd there for Dewsbury. The Challenge Cup, the small teams want the big boys to come financially. But Dewsbury playing okay. You know, they'll go well against Warrington for maybe 50-60 minutes, and you'd expect the Super League class to come through. But Dewsbury will test Warrington. Yeah,
we had Batley Huddersfield. Was it last year, Batley Huddersfield, where Batley came very close to beating Huddersfield, and nobody saw that coming. So maybe Dewsbury can do something. Are we comfortable with this format? Because we had the 4 Super League clubs in the last round. One of those has gone out. We've now got a round of 8 ties. A lot of Super League clubs, a lot of big names. Is this a better format than we've had in the past?
I'm yet to be convinced.
Well, Salford wouldn't think so, would they?
No, I'm yet to be convinced, because really, to get to Wembley, you've got to win three games, and you get to Wembley. I'm not sure that's quite right. There's still this big tinkering with the Challenge Cup. Is August the right time for the final? There's been some indication of the RFL. They seem to be happier now than they were with it before, when there's talk about moving it to May, June, which I still would personally prefer.
I can't understand, because everybody in the game outside Red Hall seems to think it's got to be the end of May and June. You talk to players, you talk to administrators, you talk to TV companies who are covering it, and everybody says May and June is perfect.
So why Red Hall, or why is the RFL so insistent? And Nigel Wood said the other day that the August bank holiday weekend is the right weekend for it.
Do you agree?
I don't.
No, I prefer to see it in May, and just on the structure of the draw, I still prefer like we were last year. I think 3 wins to get to Wembley is not enough for one. I think they landed really lucky this year with the draw, because it was almost perfect for the round we've just seen, where you got the top Championship clubs pitted against Super League clubs who were beatable. If that hadn't happened, I don't think it would have been as successful, and I think 3 games to get to Wembley is not enough.
Yeah. Garry?
Yeah, June or May do for me as well. But yeah, I think the draw's okay. We're not going to see the surprises how we have Featherstone years ago, Sheffield years ago, because of the way the full-time the Super League is. So yeah, I think the draw's okay.
Needs a massive injection though. It's like a good old-fashioned car, isn't it? That needs a bit of tinkering with, because it is in danger of losing a lot of gloss.
Well,
Wembley's not a draw anymore.
But I find that quite surprising, because I tell you what, if you ask any player what they would rather win, would it be the Grand Final of the Challenge Cup? I will tell you, would you rather play at Wembley or at Old Trafford? I will tell you, I bet you 95% of them would say they want a Wembley medal and play at Wembley and win the Challenge Cup.
I disagree with that.
Well, I don't.
I think kids are coming up now. The players that are coming up now have been brought up with Grand Finals rather than Challenge Cup.
I think Wembley still has that aura because of the-
you ask the supporters what they would rather have, the Challenge Cup and the Wembley.
Well, you look at Old Trafford sells out. Wembley doesn't get anywhere near.
But is that the fault of the competition? Is the fault of the way it's organised and arranged? And that's the part of the problem, isn't it? And the timing of there's timing issues as well, and maybe investment in the competition. And I think that the Challenge Cup has suffered by comparison with Super League, but that's not get away from it. This is the oldest rugby league competition in the world. It's to be cherished, it's to be loved, it's to be nurtured, and if anything, we're guilty of not doing that well, which rugby league is very good at, not looking after its traditions very well.
And if you see an afternoon like Saturday at Leeds, there's still potential in this competition, because it meant so much to everyone that was there. We got the shock, nice day, big crowd. It can still work, but I agree that it does need investment and focus, and scheduling's key, because we've had times in recent years where you've got big gaps between rounds, then played 2 weeks later.
And it made Leeds' season last season.
Well, fair enough. All good arguments, but Rugby Union take an ordinary club game to Wembley and sell it out, 80,000. We take the oldest competition in the world that has to be cherished and loved there, and you barely get 60,000, selling 60,000 tickets.
Well,
is it time to move? Should we move it somewhere else?
Well, the point about it is move it. I still believe in Wembley, but move it to a different time of year, back to the traditional time of year when we did sell Wembley out.
Definitely, it's a strain on families' finances, isn't it? When you put it in August, it's so close to the playoffs, which if you want to go and watch the playoffs, you've got to pay in there again and paying at a grand final, and that shouldn't be underestimated. I don't think. I think putting it to May takes it a bit away from that, spreads it out over the year, gives us a big event towards the beginning of the year. I'm all for playing in May again. I think that would help the competition.
And you would get away from this fact. You kick off a Challenge Cup in goodness knows in the winter, and you finish it in the back end of summer as well. It's too elongated in that respect.
Okay, well, we'll have to draw a line under it there. We're going to go off now and let the oldest and most cherished rugby league journalist have a cup of coffee or maybe a sip of wine at half time, but we'll be back with more rugby league chat in just a few moments' time. Welcome back to the Arc in Headingley for this latest edition of Back Chat. Our guests today, Garry Schofield, Gareth Walker and Chris Irvine. We talked about the cup draw in the first third of the programme. One of the issues which is becoming more and more of an issue in the game is the question of video referee, not just here but in the NRL as well. And there is a suggestion that maybe we should just get rid of the video referee.
Here. I'm all for it.
Yeah?
Get sure of it.
Why?
Get sure of it. Well, it's just quite... obviously taking away the importance of a referee, giving what he sees. He's going for every call, every decision. The referee himself is not taking the importance of maybe sending players off, putting it on report from there. So no, for mine, get shut of it totally, give the impetus back to the referee, and at the end of the day, the referee can only give what he sees, and he would get more respect if he did that.
So at a time when more and more sports are actually starting to use video technology, you think rugby league should get rid of it completely?
Without a doubt, and also if you look at all the other sports now, they're overusing it, and it's getting frustrating for everybody.
I'd definitely like to see it reduced at the very least. I think perhaps if it went just to the grounding of the ball, or maybe just line decisions like offside, get away from the whole obstruction thing and the things that can take longer to look at. The kind of black and white things like whether you can see a ball is grounded or not, whether it's been grounded on the line or not, I'm still okay with that. Everything else, which takes longer, I think the other stuff, I'd be happy to move away from.
What do we get rid of? What do we get rid of then? What are we not looking for anymore then? If we just have the grounding of the ball and the foot touching the line?
But that's when it was brought in 1996. It was the grounding, wasn't it? That was had they got the ball over the line and satisfactorily, and that was looked at, and that seemed to be it. We just seem to have extended the sphere of influence of the video referee out and out and out, and that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is one that certainly the likes of myself identified in 1996. You either have video referees at all games, or you have video referees at no games, because then you create a level playing field.
Well, that's impractical because it costs too much money. For rugby league, it costs too much money.
Well, no, the RFL were talking about it. They were talking about it last year.
And it didn't work.
They're looking to introduce it. It works in the NRL at all games, but whether it's a monetary issue or not, it's a question of fairness, and I just don't think it's fair at the moment that some games benefit maybe or not from the video referee and others don't. That's part of the problem.
What about the drama? What about the fantastic drama when Ryan Hall or Tommy Makinson or whoever it is?
The drama of waiting 3-4 minutes while somebody
goes for the corner, and is this a try or no try? If you take the video referee out,
or Ryan Hall be denied a try for England that would have won the game in the Four Nations.
Well, I mean, if it hadn't been for the video referee,
but at the end of that, we're never a try anyway. No. I'd say if that try had been given, Ryan Hall for England, then we might as well go to American football and just throw the ball.
Well, with the naked eye, there's a try at St Helens Leeds the other night that wouldn't have been a St Helens try that wouldn't have been given the naked eye. In fact, it's a great piece of skill to actually score that try. It would never been given, and the video referee identified it, and he was spot on with his decision. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul with this as well.
I think there's a lot of spectacular tries which wingers are attempting now, because they know they've got the video referee to back them up. They'll really go for those tightest corners because they know the video referee can back them up.
And I think that does add to the drama, like you say. When you see that replay on the big screen of a winger who's taken both his feet up in the air and just got the ball down, I think that adds to the drama, as long as we're not looking at it for 3 or 4 minutes, which is when it becomes frustrating for people, I think. But I think with the black and white things, the grounding of the ball, generally speaking, they're the clearer cut ones. It's the obstructions, whether somebody's knocked on, a few seconds before or something, they're the ones that seem to take longer. I think if we get back to the grounding of the ball and perhaps offsides, which are normally black and white as well, I think that would help it.
How's about, here's an idea, we go away from the idea of the referee going like that or no try or whatever, and it's up to the captain of each side. So that the captain of each side has one appeal through each half, one appeal each half, so that if a referee says that's a try, the opposition team say we don't think it was, we're going to appeal for that, and they go for the appeal, like they do in cricket. If the appeal's wrong, they've lost it. If the appeal's right, they keep their appeal for the rest of the half.
Dave, at the end of the day, rugby league's a simple game. Let's keep the simplicity there, eh? But also, the question I would like to ask is, get rid of the video referee, that put the importance back on the referee, but also to the touch judges, because they just taking the cop out there as well, so they should be up with the field of play. When the winger goes in, his feet are up, is he in touch or not touch, it's the corner flag, well, he should be there to make that call and make that decision. But unfortunately, because of the video referee, the importance of that, they know it's there, they're the officials, they just cop out and take the easy option.
But it's there anyway. That's the whole thing, is that if the referee is left to make the decision on the field and his touch judges, and then says no try, and then everybody looks at the big screen, which we're bound to do, and watch the replay because television's there covering, and shows it obviously was a try. How much of an outcry would there be?
But David, if it wasn't there, then everybody would agree the referee can only give what he sees.
But it is there.
No, but
it is there. You can't uninvent it. You can't uninvent it.
Take it away. Then everybody who's in the crowd there, they'll see what the referee sees. If it disallows it, you've got to respect the referee because he can only give what he sees.
But the referee wouldn't be respected, would they? In fairness,
if the decision's wrong and
if the decision's desperately wrong, as it would probably be, then there'd be umpteen of these cases. We'd be then said, get the video referee back, get the video referee back. I think, look, it's a wonderful invention, and it's also in its way an evil invention. But it's about getting it right. I think that on decision, making a decision, no try or try, I think that's a good thing as well. And it has to be, there's a vindication process in that. I think that's good. I think that's progress. But when is it ever going to be ideal? When
Chris,
is the ideal
for mine,
system?
it's quite simple. It's overused. It's quite simple. It's overused. Get shut of it and give the responsible back to the officials.
Tony Smith at Warrington would agree with you wholeheartedly. He's completely against the video referee system as well. Would like to see it abandoned. So
I think you struggle to get rid of it, as Dave says, when you've got the replays at the game in the ground.
Exactly.
Even if you're not at the ground, people are still watching at home and throwing things at the telly. So
it will be hard to go back to that, having had the thing where supposedly we're getting these things right already.
And I tell you another thing, we're talking about officials here, and they know they're on televisions, we all know themselves. I would like the referees, all the shouting and bawling they're doing, in every tackle and coaching players on the field. Well, I want the referees, to stop shouting and bawling like they're doing. They don't do it when the cameras aren't there, because I do it. I'm a go to many games myself. They don't shout and bawl when the referee normally, but when they're on television, you've got to turn the volume down at times because of what the officials are shouting. The coaching players on the field, they tell him to get on side. Well, at the end of the day, if they're not on side, shouldn't they be penalised?
Yeah. Should they be coaching them?
No, they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't. No.
But they are doing, aren't they? You can hear them on the field.
There's an element of that. One thing, you raised the captain's call, which has been talked about extensively over the years, and there's merit in that. I think it works well in cricket, doesn't it? So I think there's merit in the captain's call. It's something to be looked. It's something to be looked at. It's not satisfactory at the moment, but the problem is what system would be.
But even with the captain's call, I mean, in cricket now we've seen, haven't we, where a decision, LBW or otherwise, and when you see the replay, it's the wrong decision, but the frustration because they can't appeal because they've used their appeals. But we get used to that, you know. We kind of say, all right, well, that's the way it is, and that's the way it would be in rugby league as
Challenges
well.
in tennis, I think, works well. You get 3 challenges per set. And I think that works well. And the player has to keep in their mind, when am I going to challenge here? And I think that's bred good behaviour and good practice in tennis.
Okay. Talking about coaches, talk about Tony Smith, 20 years of Super League now. Who has been the most influential coach in the last 20 years of Super League? Who do you think stands out as being the most memorable coach of the last 20 years?
I think in terms of influence, it's hard to get away from Tony Smith in that he's been to 3 clubs in Super League, in Huddersfield, Leeds and Warrington, and he's improved each one of them. You know, when he took over at Huddersfield, obviously they got relegated, but he stayed with the club, brought back, and in many ways laid the foundations for what they're doing now. Leeds took them to that title. That's kind of got the ball rolling for them as well, and Warrington as well, although they've not to win a grand final yet, they've won at Wembley. So I think he's been very influential, and obviously other people that he's coached, and you hear players talking that want to coach after playing for Tony Smith. I think he's the starting point.
Yeah.
I think Brian Mack, because he learnt his trade at Leeds under Tony Smith, took the chance, took the gamble to go down there to London, had a good stint down in London and stabilised the club, realised that the time was to go, took over a successful Leeds side. He's maintained that, won the Challenge Cup, the grand final from there, bringing the quality youngsters through. So I think Brian Mack has a huge influence for the last 20 years.
And show us your medal stakes. Brian Noble, 5 grand finals with Bradford, you know, and Challenge Cup as well. So you've got to look at people like that. Ian Millward at St Helens came in, you know, very controversial after Ellery Hanley. They were on the downers at Saints and lifted them up. You know, some crazy years there, but it was crazy, wonderful times as well.
Yeah, no mention of Matt Parrish at Salford. That's Dan Staines at London.
Why should they?
But they were memorable characters as well.
They came over here and saying, yeah, I can't wait to get stuck into Super League. It's a great game. Move it forward. What, the last 5 games, 2 weeks?
Yeah, Matt Parrish didn't last very long as well. Although he's assistant coach at New South Wales now, so he must have something about it. Who was the standout for you? When I'm presuming you're going to say Dougie Lawton.
Oh, please, Dev. Please.
No?
Not a chance. Not a chance. What, Dougie Lawton? No way. My influential coach, quite simply, was Arthur Bunton. Give me the opportunity. 18-year-old, that quality whole team, full of international, believed that I could do the job and put me in the first team straight away. So yeah, it's got to be Arthur Bunton.
And what makes a coach stand out? When you say Brian Mack, and we've heard Tony Smith and Brian Noble as well, what gives them the X factor?
It's not all about coaching, it's about man management and getting the best out of that individual, because the 4 quality coaches for my career was Arthur Bunton, David Ward, Malcolm Reilly and Frank Stanton, because quite simply they let me play the game what I was playing, and quite simply it was support player and then creative player. Taking nothing away from my game, it was just man management. Go out there, play what you see, and that's what got the best out of me. I think in one case, in today's game, certainly, we're talking about Tony Smith, Darryl Clark. You look at the way Darryl Clark's playing at this moment in time, they've taken away that ability of him where realistically scooting from dummy half, creating from dummy half with the speed there. Darryl Clark can't play to a structure. That's why he's struggling. They don't know whether to start him or put him on the bench. So what Warrington have to do to get the best out of Darryl Clark, let him do what he does best, and Warrington have to play at the back of him. It's not about coaching, it's about man management and letting the player express themselves any time and any part of the field.
It's a very unforgiving environment, isn't it? Because if you get it wrong in Super League, that's usually it. You know, I mean, you look at good coaches like Neil Kelly, who was coach of the year, I think, one year, wasn't he? And then had a bad start to a season, boomed off by witness, and has never had a look in since. And there are
he's doing very well in Romanian rugby union.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people within the game who've been lost to the game because it's such a small pool.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, one name we haven't mentioned here, and he's certainly mentioned by a lot of players at St Helens, will be Daniel Anderson in the year when they swept the board in 2006 and was compared with great St Helens sides of the past. Yeah. I think that certainly he would get any honourable mention in kind of terms of great coaches in Super League.
But I think again, when you look at the coach again, I mentioned Tony Smith, and then I mentioned another one, David Waite. Well, Tony Smith turned Lee Breers around from what he was, a better player, to what he was. But then even Brian Noble, didn't pick Lee Breers. So why didn't they pick Lee Breers? You know, we all know what a quality player was. Should have been in international, but they didn't pick him for whatever reason. But Tony Smith got all the Breers there, let him do what he wanted to do, controlled the game, and quite simply, the play what it came.
Do you think on terms of coaches that Steve McNamara, this is his last year as England coach? Because you talked about Brian McDermott, that his name keeps cropping up in terms of the England job now, doesn't it?
I tell you what, the way that they are playing, and it's it's a great way to play rugby league. It's the British way of playing rugby league. You wouldn't rule out Paul Rowley being the next England coach, I'll tell you.
Really?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Wouldn't rule out Paul Rowley being in contention of being the next England coach. There's no two ways about it. When the Warrington job next comes up, and I'm not saying about Sid Tellers with Kieran Cunningham, but Paul Rowley will be in for the top jobs when they're available. There's no two ways about that.
Next England coach, Gareth?
It might be a bit soon for that. I think he probably does need to coach.
Why would it be too soon? Why would it be too soon? He
Just
could
in
handle
terms of,
Eagles.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a load of time for Paul. I think he's done an absolutely sensational job, and I think he probably will be England coach. Whether he'd be the next one, I don't know. Can you do it without having coached at the top flight, Garry? Is that fair?
I would say so. Oh yeah, I would say so.
But the
without
players
a doubt.
respect you. Does someone, you know, Sam Tompkins come into that side and respect to Paul Rowley because he's not coached at the top level?
I would say so. Yeah, without a doubt. And
Paul's played at the top level.
Yeah,
He played in the World Cup for England, which he does have in his.
But also as well, when I mentioned Lee, certainly with the culture there, then players would love playing under Paul Rowley because they're allowed to express themselves.
Oh, they do. That comes back from the players a lot, massively from the league
You can
players.
see that straight away. So for the players to be allowed to express themselves, well, take for instance last year with England with Darryl Clark, he was outstanding. And what does he go and do? Macca takes his best players off, then puts Ferris in there to replace Darryl Clark. No way, mate. Paul Rowley, the players would respect him because they would be allowed to play the way that they want to play, and he would get the best out. And the environment he would create as well, Dave.
And I guess man management, you're talking about someone like Sam Barlow, who seemed to have had a past of being a bit difficult to handle, although being very talented. Gone to Leeds, he's got a fantastic amount of Sam Barlow, and let's see what happens with Gareth Hawke now.
But
He's the next one.
it's a real question.
Who would you give the next
Well,
England?
I think it's Brian McDermott, and I think that Sean Wayne would be.
Darryl Powell?
Darryl Powell's got to be in there. Funnily enough, the three names we've chucked around for the last 2 years, and Steve McNamara still keeps getting the job. I really do hope. I think Steve's had a good crack at it, but I really do hope we get another England coach.
Well, we are going to get another England coach. Kieran Cunningham's another one.
Oh yeah,
give him time.
I tell you what, there's plenty of names to be thrown in that, but also to what we've got to do after this for this Kiwi series, and then after is build for the World Cup. So we have got to look at a new coach. It's as simple as that. You know, Mac has had his time, and his time is up. So we've got to look for a new coach, but then we've got to look for the World Cup in 2000 by looking at Liam Sutcliffe and the Stevie Ward of these people. Get the old guard out there. Thanks very much. You've had your time at now. We're moving on and we're preparing for the 2017 World Cup, because if we get it right, and I do believe at the time we have the talent, the forwards will match the forwards, but if we can get it right with the creativity, playing a different style of rugby league from a point of view where we're not playing robotic, we're not playing boring, we're playing smart, attractive rugby league, asking questions when they don't expect it, and I think Paul Rowley as a coach would encourage that, and the players would buy into it.
It's really refreshing to hear that point of view, because we've only been hearing it for the last 20 years, haven't we? We've been preparing this next generation for 20 years.
Well, I'll tell you what, the last time I think we saw a chip over the top and a try score was from myself. They're not encouraged to do it anymore. And Paul Rowley will encourage all that. Yeah. I'm not saying Wayne wouldn't, or a Macca, or a Kieran, because Kieran, the way said Tellens, their tradition, they like to throw the ball a little bit. But I tell you, and don't get me wrong, I'm not Paul Rowley's agent, I can reassure you, but Paul Rowley, the way that he gets the best out of his players, they all love playing for him, the smile on the face. Don't rule him out, and let's prepare for the World Cup in 2017.
If you had sponsored Garry Schofield for the number of times he said Paul Rowley, at 10 pence a mention, he's on about £6.85 at the moment. Gareth, who would your next England coach be if it wasn't Paul Rowley?
I'd go towards Sean Wayne, I think. I think, again, man management-wise, he's another, seems to be very much a player's coach, and I think, obviously, he's won the Challenge Cup, won Super League, been in an established club for a long time. I think he'd be my choice for next England.
Would you have Paul Rowley then as assistant on his backroom staff?
Absolutely, yeah. Why not? You know, and you know, continue to work at Leo. Well, it seems like it's a part-time role now, England anyway. I guess so. I think that would be a great idea. Actually,
I'll tell you another one I'll throw in as well. Paul Deacon. Yeah, because he got big raps off the players in the last tour. He got big raps off the players down under.
But I'll tell you what, if you look at all the backroom staff, what McNamara's got, he's got about 16, 17 people on his backroom staff, from whatever, from physios to dietitians to computerised.
They all do now, Garry. It's not just everybody.
Is it really necessary?
I'm sure.
Is it really necessary? Do me a favour, Dave.
Okay, well, thanks very much indeed. We'll be back looking at the NRL and talking about marquee players in the final third of the programme in just a moment's time. Welcome back to the Arc in Headingley for this final third of Back Chat for this week, and we're going to talk about all things NRL in this final third, or at least the NRL players who are coming back. They're all coming back, or at least one of them is, Sam Tompkins. No big surprise that he's going to come back to Wigan when that announcement was made?
No great shock, and it kind of took away slightly from the Ben Flower comeback that half-time, the big announcement on the big screen, and everybody cheers, and the conquering hero. returns, but he returns earlier than I think everybody really expected. He'll have only done 2 years of a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
Has he really pulled up trees in New Zealand and in the NRL? Not really. He's been steady away, I think, Sam, and he's done okay. Will he be remembered a great player at the New Zealand Warriors? I fear not. Can he become a great player again at Wigan? Yes, he can. But it's an exciting. I think for Super League, is it a loss for the NRL? Probably not. Is it a boom for Super League? Yeah, not half.
How long before the speculation starts about whether he's going to rugby union or not? He signed a 4-year deal and he said that he can see himself playing out his career now at Wigan. But do you think he might be tempted for the next Rugby Union World Cup?
I think Sam's got to end that himself, hasn't he? He's got to say, I'm staying in Rugby League, I've got 4 years in at Wigan and I've been lucky to end my career in Rugby League. So it can only come from one person, and that's Sam himself. But the Wigan fans will be delighted. Warrington, by all accounts, was in there quite seriously. So will the Warrington fans, will they be a little bit disappointed that got Sam Tompkins? But Sam's the one who can stop all the speculation about going to Rugby Union. It's as simple as that. There.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it'll be a while before it starts anyway. But they seem to have been wrapped up with a marquee player rule that's maybe about to be brought into Super League, where the clubs are having a vote in June to decide whether every club should be allowed a marquee player. Sam Tompkins would be one of them. Are you agreeing with that idea that every club should be allowed to overspend on one big star player?
Well, it's just a way of allowing clubs to spend a bit more money, which I think we need with the threat of the NRL and obviously Rugby Union. I think they need to find a way where clubs can spend some more money, and this is one way of doing it, isn't it? Rather than just increasing the salary cap, you're taking one guy out of your salary, so it will give them more money to spend, and I think that's the direction that we needed to go in as a competition.
Yeah. Marquee players, Garry? I'll wind you up and let you go. Go.
Well, how many marquee players have we got in Super League? Can we name them? Sam, maybe one. Ryan Hall. Liam Sutcliffe.
Rangi Chase, maybe one.
Well, can we name 6 marquee players?
So it's not a marquee, it's more a small tent.
Something like that, yeah. We've arrowed out,
You've been dying to get that.
But also as well, we keep talking about the salary cap and the threat of Rugby Union also to certain players going to the NRL. Well, let's have a look at how many players now would you think the NRL would want?
From here?
Yeah, from
a
England.
lot. I think there's still a lot.
Do you reckon?
They still want a lot of players, yeah.
But the thing is, the traffic is also, so Sam Tompkins is coming back. There's been a lot of speculation about Gareth Widdop. Maybe he would leave St George, and I think Warrington would be interested. There was talk about Leeds interested, though I think they should stick with Sutcliffe in that respect. But but would Gareth Widdop? Would he really want to come? Would he want to leave? A St George side doing very well. His combination working really well with Benji Marshall at the moment. Would Gareth Widdop, at this stage of his career, 26, height of his career, would he wish to come back to England?
He might want to take the easy option and come back to Super League, which is a lot easier, as we know, week in and week out than what the NRL is.
Is the marquee player, though, not designed for someone like Salford to go out and nab a really big name
Yeah,
Rugby
but the
Union
trouble is,
player?
Dave, okay, it could be as well. But you look at the thing with Dele Cherry Evans as well, and the move from Manly to the Gold Coast Titans, which seems to be back on now. But they are throwing money at halfbacks. Halfbacks are, I think, Garry, you referred to it. They're almost like you pay them like quarterbacks money in American football. These guys have paid a lot of money in Australia, and that's it's the creators and the playmakers that you want to get your hold of. And I don't know if we can actually afford them, even with a marquee player rule.
And do we fall then into the trap, if we're going to be spending big money on the halfbacks to bring the star name Australian Kiwis over here, that we get back to the stage where we're not producing the halfbacks again, and we've not been producing them for a long time?
That's the danger, definitely, and I think we've seen in the past that it doesn't always work when you spend all your salary cap or a big part on 1 or 2 players. If you look at Leeds' model over the last few years, where it's probably been a bit more balanced than some of the other clubs, that seems to be a better model. So there might be a risk involved for clubs saying, right, we're going to pull this player out and give him X amount more than the rest of the squad. Could cause a bit of resentment, and it'll take a bit of balancing, I think, to get it right, that rule.
Well, I think to realistically, everybody should, from a point of view, go down what Leeds have done, St Helens and Wigan and at Warrington times, invest in the youth. Forget about the marquee signings.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Forget about it.
Someone came, I can't remember who it was, it might have been you actually, who came up with the figure, was it 17 players? Leeds against St Helens the other night, 17 players have been produced by their own academies.
Yeah, that's terrific, wasn't it? And they were the best players on the pitch, really, as well. When you look at Liam Sutcliffe and Ash Hanley, Stevie Ward, they were the key players in the game. And I thought just over the weekend, noticeably, even including the Lee Salford match, there's a lot of exciting young English players at the moment coming through, and that's a good thing. They've got, as Garry says, we need more clubs now to take that approach, and I think more clubs are doing. Warrington now is starting to see what they started maybe 5 years ago, getting Dec Patton and And, you know, even guys like Laithwaite, Curry coming through, there's a proper stream now that there wasn't 5 years ago. The more clubs that follow that path, the better for everybody, I think.
And also, to get NRL players, you know, those who maybe are maybe not quite working out for them, but just being clever in who you buy. I think Anthony Gelling from Wigan looks now a terrific buy, doesn't he? You know,
4 years ago.
Exactly.
It's taken him 2-3 years, hasn't it?
Yes, but
so
Wigan have invested in him, but they're getting a return on that player as well. He's delivering now as well.
But I tell you what, though, as we all know at Salford and the money what the great doctor's put in there, how long will he wait for Michael Dobson to produce a good, and certainly the fullback in Kevin Locke? Will he wait 3 or 4 years? He ain't got time to wait, has he?
But just on the marquee player then, would we want it as a sport because it might have stopped maybe Sam Burgess going to it probably wouldn't because he went for other reasons, but it might stop another big name leaving the sport. Would you wear it for that reason?
No, I wouldn't. No,
let him go.
No, let him go.
And what about bringing the other way? What about getting a really big name rugby union player or a big name Aussie? I'm
all for producing his own British talent. There's plenty of talent out there, and if we're patient with him, give him that time to develop and give him that bit of time, and I'm all for homegrown players
Gary,
and being allowed that opportunity.
But in your playing day, you know, didn't the game benefit from a Jonathan Davis, a John Devereux, these big names that came across?
That was a different climate, wasn't it? Because that was in the day when rugby union didn't pay the players, and so they came up north.
But they were big names. They were big.
Yeah.
Jonathan Davis, when he crossed codes, was a big name, and when he made his, you know, came from Trimsaran down in Wales to come to Widnes, it was a huge deal. And I think that rugby league misses out on the publicity that'd be generated by a big signing if you had a big name.
But I tell you what as well, though, because even in my day, you know, there's been some rubbish signed. Don't worry about that. There's been some rubbish signed, and we did one at Leeds ourselves in John Gallagher. Well, how poor was he? It was rubbish. You know, so so it evens itself out at times, doesn't it? You know, for mine, the way that the game is nowadays with Super League and the academies, what they've got, let's stick to his own, give them patience because there's a lot of quality.
But you played in arguably the greatest Challenge Cup final of all time, 1985. I think you came off the last 2 minutes, didn't you, in that game?
20, absolutely.
Last 20 minutes. And there were two players that day in Kenny and Sterling,
correct,
who, you know, anyone who grew up in that era and watched them will say they were magical, absolutely magical. And this current generation of British Rugby League watchers is being denied the chance to see players like that.
You would say so, but listen, at the end of the day, if we are going to get ourselves back where we want to get from an international point of view, we have got to be patient with our quality, what we've got. It's as simple as that. It is.
What I'd say is that as a sport, we need star names, don't we? Whether that's people coming in from Rugby Union Australia or whether we invest the time and money in making sure Liam Sutcliffe...
There's nobody Rugby Union who would make it league.
That's a sweeping statement. Of course
who in Rugby Union would make it Rugby League?
I don't know, but there must be, because they have in the past. The players have Jonathan Davis, Martin of Fire, Alan Tate, for all your John Gallagher's.
There's not any Rugby Union players who are playing today would play in International Rugby League like them guys did. You've just mentioned. No way, mate.
George Ford.
Totally different game. Playing at standoff, playing at fly-half. Totally different game.
They won't make it. Sam Burgess. I think you have a decent.
Well. Sam's a rugby league player. He's not a rugby union player. You know that as well as I do.
But we do need star names, don't we? So whether it is investing in whatever Australian players or is it investing in Liam Sutcliffe and making these guys star, we need players in the game that people are excited to go and watch.
We're greedy. We want everything. But I tell you what, if say a Leeds or a Warrington or whoever said, right, we're signing Jonathan Thurston, that would be a great signing.
Yes.
That would be a fantastic signing.
Andrew Johns when he came over.
Yeah,
we only played 3 games. Look at the impact.
Well, as I say, you just mentioned then, and would you mention Sterling, Kenny, and there were Wally Lewis and Gene Miles and Mal Meninga. Well, them nowadays, are there? But
that would be the equivalent, wouldn't be? Would be to get a Billy Slater, a Thurston, something like that. That would generate.
Well, Jonathan Thurston's not a Wally Lewis or a Brett Kenny or a Peter Sterling. It's quality.
He's a quality player.
It's quality. Andrew Johns' quality, well, maybe the best that's ever been. That's open for debate. But the quality, what was coming over in them days, well, yeah, we all liked it because they were the star quality. We haven't been getting that over the last few years.
Yeah. But there's some lot of exciting talent in the NRL. You'd love
Greg
to see.
Inglis, who wouldn't pay to go and see.
Well,
Cameron Smith.
But I'm on about the players from our day. How many came over? Well, Greg Dowling, you got Steve Ella, you had them all, and even the Kiwis as well.
Okay, it was a different era of the seasons, wasn't it? We're at different times that allowed
There's far more quality, better quality coming over in our days when we started out than what these today.
You watch a bit of Rugby Union. You watch a bit of the dark side, don't you? We can reveal you, and you're drinking white wine. Who would you like to
Dave?
prove him wrong? Who in rugby union do you think could make a difference in rugby league? Is he right in saying that no one in rugby union could play rugby league?
No, because there's plenty of people. You know, you could put in some very decent three quarters. You could put in. He's not a British player, but anybody who watches Newcastle Falcons, there's a guy there, the centre goal, wonderful name, so good, a bit like Fui Fui Moi Moi, named him twice. His name is Sinotti, and I watch him. I just think, I'd love to see him play rugby union. What a brilliant player he is. There's talent there. And I think we miss out on that as well, and we miss out it to the detriment of rugby league.
Sinotti. That sounds like a tackling technique, doesn't it? Somebody might.
It's the media interest that creates as well, isn't it? As well as their ability on the field. You know, getting big names signing creates media interest, creates local interest at clubs, and we do need star players playing the game.
Yeah. I mean, our biggest star, for all the wrong reasons, has been Ben Flower for the last 6 months. You know, his return created a bigger stir in the national media, I would suggest, than Sam Tompkins' return.
Well, that's what we need, big stories in rugby league, and that was a big story. When that happened and his return, it was a big story. So we lack those in rugby league as well. And a rugby union, a couple of big rugby union signings will create that. Sam Burgess's return to rugby league. If the marquee signing would work at its very best, if a Leeds or whoever signed Sam Burgess, then it's working well.
Well, that's going to be on the cards, isn't it? Because he ain't going to get picked in the World Cup.
Do you think he's going to? Do you think he's
come
going to pick it?
No, you'll be back. Yeah,
do you think he picks Super League over NRL?
Sam will be back in
I would
Rugby League
be
in
the
12
NRL,
months.
won't he? Back in the NRL, I'd imagine.
Well, let's think about that. You know, because South, they had 4 or 5 great years from Sam. Eastern Suburbs, they were the same with Adrian Morley. They realised that it maybe had passed his best in that league week in and week out, but without a doubt, Leeds and Warrington surely would be to see Sam Burgess. I think Sam would come to the Super League for 4 years.
I think he'll stick it out in rugby union for a bit longer, yeah? You reckon?
I'm not sure a lot goes on this World Cup thing. I think, you know, how long does he have to wait for the next big event? Well, the next World Cup is another 4 years, obviously, isn't it? So it's going to be a personal decision, isn't it?
You half make it in rugby union, you could go out and get yourself a massive deal with the French rugby union. You know, it's not just about the big events; it's about the big money.
Well, and they
could
would
make
do
himself
it
a very rich
because
man,
that's why English rugby union at the moment is suffering by comparison with French rugby union and the money that's available in that sport. You look at the number of English, Welsh, Scots, and Irish players who are now playing in the French competition. It's massive. Yeah. It's market forces all the time. These are what dictating it, and we can bring a marquee player signing in or ruling in, but it still might not be enough to compete with French rugby union, American football, whatever it is. It's market forces.
Chris, at the end of the day, there's still none out there that would make it as a quality rugby league player. End of story.
And on that bombshell from Garry Schofield, let's just remind you about what's coming up on Premier Sport over the next weekend. Some fantastic NRL matches to look forward to, and even if Garry Schofield says there are no good rugby league players in Australia anymore, take a judge for yourself by having a watch of some of these matches. I think you'll find there probably are. Friday, it all starts on Friday. Bulldogs against the Tigers at the ANZ Stadium. That's 10:45. That's a live match. These are all live matches. That's at 10:45. If you can't get to sleep on Saturday morning, early hours, or if, like Garry, you've just come in from a night out, 3 o'clock in the morning, Warriors against the Titans at the Mount Smart Stadium. That's 3 o'clock. No Sam, of course. I think he's still injured, isn't he? Knights against the Cowboys is a 5 o'clock start at the Hunter Stadium. At 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, the Roosters against the Dragons at the Allianz Stadium. That's going to be a fantastic game. And then the Storm against the Sea Eagles at 9:15 on Saturday. These are all back-to-back on Premier Sport, and that's going to be really interesting to see if the Sea Eagles can pick themselves up out of their slump that they're in at the moment, suggesting that Nathan Brown, we've not talked about Nathan Brown, have we? But suggesting that Nathan Brown might be the next Sea Eagles coach at some point. We shall see. Also on Saturday, rounding it all off, Broncos against the Eels at Suncorp, and that's 11 o'clock. So that's your Saturday lineup. It's a heck of a lineup as well, isn't it? Sunday, 2 matches on Sunday if you've still got the going power. It's the Panthers against the Sharks. That's a 5 a.m. start. And then the Rabbitohs against the Raiders. And that is a 7 a.m. start on a Sunday morning. And just a quick look ahead, not ahead to the big 3, of course, coming up starting in May, the 27th of May, State of Origin, Queensland against New South Wales, 10:30 on this channel. 17th of June, Game 2, it's 10:30 start as well. And then on the 8th of July, the 3rd game, which we hope will be a decider, because that will be a humdinger if it is, and that's a 10:30 start as well. And Nathan Brown will be very much ensconced as a New South Wales assistant coach, which is the news that we heard this week as well, alongside Matt Parrish, who we're mentioning a little bit earlier. So lots to look forward to of Rugby League right here on this channel, Premier Sport. Hope you've enjoyed it this week. We're back again in a fortnight's time, but thank you to our panel here of Garry Schofield, Gareth Walker and Chris Irvine. From us all, goodbye.